Hello, hello. Welcome to the final episode of this Let's Vibe podcast extravaganza week, you guys. I hope you guys have had a good week so far. I hope you've been enjoying the new episodes. I wanted to do an Ask Aid Anything episode just to kind of open the floor up for any questions that you guys have. Like, we're halfway through the year. I've shared a lot. I've been super vulnerable about a lot of things. So I'm like, let's open up the floor, see what questions you guys have. So I took to Instagram and some other platforms and got some anonymous questions from you guys. So in today's episode, we are going to be diving into those questions. And you guys, you brought the heat on some of these. There's like questions about festivals. There's questions about my love life. There's questions about my sobriety journey. There's a lot. So without further ado, let's get into it. Super excited to dive in. And so I'm kicking it off. I have sectioned off these questions into like different buckets so it doesn't feel super sporadic, like jumping from one kind of topic to the next. So without further ado, we'll kick it off with the first one. Also, you guys, we are filming from my lovely couch in my living room. This is like my safe haven. Like when I come home from work, I'm just so excited to be back on my couch. So let me know if we like this little setup. It wasn't too hard to get set up, so I might record here more and more. Of course, the lighting's a little weird, like there might be a shadow here, but that's just my own thinking. So the first question we have is, tell us more about your story. Like, where do you come from? How did you end up doing EDM stuff? This is a loaded question, but I originally came from Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised. I lived there for about 22 years. So I went to college at Arizona State, and then I moved out to Austin, Texas. And then I've been in Austin for the past 7 years. And so my like EDM origin story is kind of the best place to start, which is like I started listening to electronic music when I was in high school, 2012, 2013 era, you know what I mean? That iconic era. And I was really looking for remixes to work out to of like popular songs. So that's how I discovered, Calvin Harris, Zedd, David Guetta, Swedish House Mafia. Instantly fell in love with electronic music. And I didn't go to my first event until 2015. I went to my first rave. It was Mad Decent Block Party, which was at Rawhide in Arizona. So my OG rave scene, OG rave fam was in Arizona. It was Rawhide. I have so many fond memories of that I look back on. And I know that they're starting to do events back at Rawhide, which makes me really excited because I miss that space. And that's where I have a lot of memories. But yeah, I had a rave fam in college, and honestly, it was kind of centered around the fraternities that I was hanging out with because I was in Greek life. And so one of the fraternities that I hung out with, we all went to raves together. So my rave fam was like 50 people. And we all, like a lot of us still rave too to this day. It's just we're all spread out, right? We're in different groups and all of that. But that's what really started my whole journey with getting into the rave scene. And I went to my first big festival, which was Coachella 2017. And that kind of changed everything for me, going to a big festival like that. And it really gave me this idea of, how do you prepare for festivals like this? Like, I'm so type A. I need to know, what am I getting myself into? What are people wearing? Like, I just like being prepared. And so later that year, when I moved out to Austin, I was in this digital marketing program, and we had to like pick a business or brand to focus on within that program. And that was the birth and conception of Vibe with Aid. I picked this brand that I wanted to cultivate and create a blog for content to help ravers and festival goers plan for their next events. And I really devoted myself to that in 2017, building up that blog, starting to post tips and tricks and things like that. Later on that year, I started a YouTube channel, and then I really focused on the YouTube channel in 2018. So I've been doing this for a hot minute, and there's some questions about what do I think about the influencer space now later on. But that's really how I got into it. And so I was working at a 9-to-5. I was working at a startup marketing agency and working on the brand outside of my 9-to-5, posting to Instagram, editing YouTube videos, filming YouTube videos. And so I really started building myself as, a go-to person for your festival tips, music recommendations, things like that. And then obviously the pandemic happened, right? When I was kind of like I was hitting a really good stride. I was getting, brand deals, festival tickets, things like that. And then the pandemic happened. So I did what I could to keep the brand alive during that time. And then festivals started coming back in 2021, hit the ground running. I quit my 9 to 5. I launched a coaching business, which helps ravers and festival goers create amazing lives outside of their festivals. And so I started that. And then I was doing freelancing. I was working in the EDM industry for a certain brand, got my little taste of that. And so I was working for myself for the past 2 years. And then I got a 9 to 5 at the end of last year. Honestly, I'm going to get into this when it comes to the influencer space and the electronic music and festival space, but it's hard to make an income sometimes, and you really have to have multiple streams of income and all of that. So that's the condensed version of how we got here. So I am still working my 9 to 5. I am running a coaching business, and I'm creating content for you guys. And I love what I'm doing. Honestly, I love my 9 to 5. It's very fulfilling for me right now. And it definitely applies a lot of the skills that I'm developing within my coaching business. But I also do love, the festival community still. I love going to festivals. I love, the music and all of that. And I plan to still continue to be in this space, but I definitely want to do a more in-depth, content creator journey kind of thing, because it's been 7 years and I've learned a lot. In August or September, that's when Vibe with AIDS 7-year birthday is, which is just so crazy to me. And so, yeah, I see where I'm kind of pivoting and shifting and things like that, which I'm really excited about. But that's a little bit about my story in terms of the festival space, electronic music space, and how I really got here. And I can't be more content, honestly. I'm very happy to be where I am right now. And I feel like I'm in a really good position with just a lot of opportunities coming through. I think that's kind of about it with my story. That's a good synopsis as to how we got here. There's definitely been a lot of trials and tribulations and wins and successes and all of that. But I think that sums it up as to how we got here. Moving into this festival music section, we have you ever had a life-changing or profound experience during a festival? If so, can you share the story? I feel like I've had so many. In a good way, life-changing, I would say. Obviously going to my first Coachella was obviously life-changing because it inspired me creating Vibe with Aid, and it really was just the whole experience of it all that really inspired me to create Vibe with Aid. And that just really was pivotal in that sense, getting to go to such a large scale festival and have that experience. And I'm actually going back to Coachella next year and gonna have that full circle moment. And then I would say lightning in a bottle has definitely, been a top tier, profound experience for myself that I went over in that recap episode. That was super life-changing. I will also say Electric Forest last year, because I had just gotten out of my relationship and I was very much in my healing. I also hosted my first intention setting workshop at Electric Forest, which you guys know I have loved Electric Forest. You guys have probably found me because of Electric Forest. So getting to host my first workshop and also heal my heart. I took Electric Forest off from vlogging and creating content, and I really needed that. But I think that really showed me, okay, we're making good progress. We can move forward. We can heal. We're doing good. We've got this kind of energy. And it was just what I really needed. And just to be surrounded by good vibes, good people. Electric Forest stands out to me in that sense. And then I will say, in a not so great way, I did have a pretty life-changing experience, Electric Forest 2022. Which I've talked about. My friend Emma Capotis, who's also a content creator, has talked about. But at the end, the very last day of Electric Forest 2022, we were at Shiba-san and we witnessed a pretty scary medical emergency. And it's actually kind of crazy because a similar medical emergency happened this year at Electric Forest at one of the afters, where, a group of people had taken some stuff and then they all just kind of started passing out one by one, Emma and I experienced in our group, we experienced something similar that year at Electric Forest, which was now 2 years ago. And witnessing that honestly was kind of the catalyst for me going sober and not drinking alcohol. And it wasn't because necessarily I was I never want to dabble in these things or whatever. It was just wow, I'm good, like I was really struggling with alcohol during that period. And I was like, you know what? Like I need to do what's best for me. And that whole experience and witnessing that just kind of like sparked my whole alcohol-free journey essentially. So I would say that was kind of another profound experience. All of those people that I witnessed, that were involved in that ended up being okay and survived and all of that, thankfully. But it was definitely like a very scary kind of moment that just like gives you a reality check. You know what I mean? So I definitely had, some of the good, profound experiences. And then I've also had the not so good, but then something good kind of came out of it, Ooh, this next question is like so loaded. If you could curate a festival lineup, who'd be on it and why? I've gotten asked this question before, and it's so hard right now because my music tastes are really all over the place. And it's also hard too because I would want to be at all of these stages, right? Like I honestly would want one stage, one vibe, but none of these artists would go really well together, because I have this side to me that's like, I would want Lane 8 there, right? And I would want like Sultan Shepherd, and I would want like Tin Liquor, right? And then there's the other side of me that would want like Sarah Landry, Indira Paganoto, like Charlotte DeWitt at like one stage, all the techno and all of that, Township Rebellion, like there's that part to me. And then there's also the groover side to me where it's like Dennis Cruz, Golfos, Michael Beebe, I'm wearing his shirt, another, like have all of that. Then I've been getting really into like Salute, DJ Heartstring, Test Press, like it would be a very multi-genre type festival, but I wouldn't want any of them to conflict. Like I would not be good at this, like it would just be really hard. I just named off a couple of the people that I'm like really obsessed with right now and like listening to. Sammy Vergi, I just saw this past weekend and he was amazing. Honestly, the Arc Music Festival lineup is pretty right up my alley for house and techno. Like that, those set times are really gonna hurt, honestly. The next question is, what's the one song that gets you back on your feet and feeling like you again? Mine would be You and I, the Dead Mouse version. Song speaks so much to you as an individual, and the things ones go through in their lives and relationship just lifts you up and sets you on a straight course again. My song would be Keep On by Lane 8. This song came out in 2020 when I was going through a breakup of a previous relationship. And man, that song just always gets me like feeling like, wow, things are going to be okay. It's also starting to rain. Oh, vibes. Yeah, Keep On by Lane 8. It's just, it always feels just like a hug and like keep on track, like I'm keeping on. And I just really love that song. And I even listened to it yesterday as I was driving home and just feeling so grateful and just having a really like gratitude moment on my drive home from a spin class. I was in my feels. Second question, who are you most excited to see at Seismic? Not a question, but keep spreading that love and positivity. AD radiate. Everybody needs that nowadays. Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. Seismic lineup. I literally, Carl Cox, Gazafelstein, and Eric Pritz. Like, are you kidding? As the headliners? Where's the lineup again? I know Sammy Vergi's on there, and I'm stoked about that. Someone that's more low key on the Seismic lineup that maybe not a lot of people would know about is A-Trip. I really like his. He's like Fred again, but housey. I did a whole lineup debrief video, by the way, on that one. On this lineup, Mall Grab, I'm excited for. Nico Moreno, Max Styler, Rodan, Wax Troda, I feel like is going to be cool. Shlomo. This lineup is stacked too, but the conflicts are going to be crazy for that one. Next question is, will you be at Lost Lands this year? This isn't Tony, by the way, just an anonymous listener. I had to throw that in, Tony. There was talks about Lost Lands. Is not confirmed. Could be confirmed. We'll just have to wait and see. Chances of seeing you at EDC Orlando, no chance. I don't really have an interest in going. Also, it's like the weekend before Seismic, and October is going to be crazy enough with ACL, 3 Points, potentially going to Freaky Deaky for a day. And then November, I usually just plan on doing Seismic and then Thanksgiving, so no EDC Orlando for me this year. Best and worst DJ interaction. Ooh, that's tough. I met Chris Lake and Fisher while I was wearing a shirt with Fisher on it. That was at Holy Ship 2019. Their reactions were priceless, and I got a photo with them. And this was like my peak number one fan of Chris Lake and Fisher era. So that was a really good reaction. When I used to work for this brand called Gray Area and I worked this Elro event, it was actually really cool because Jay Wara and West End like recognized me from the social content. So that was really cool that they like were like, hi. And I was like, oh my God, you guys know who I am? Like, I know who you guys are. Like, that was a cool kind of interaction. I honestly have not had a bad DJ interaction that I can think of. Like I didn't really ever feel like, oh, like I can't really think of a bad one off the top of my head, which I guess is a good thing because I've been on, Groove Cruise where I've run into people. I've also been backstage, at certain things where I've run into artists or I've worked with artists for the brand that I was working with and stuff. Like, I'm trying to think back and I can't really think of a bad experience because I've also been behind the scenes for like artist interviews and stuff and like can't recall, which is honestly a good sign, I think. The next question is John Summit falling off? I don't think John Summit is falling off. I just think he's becoming mainstream. Like he's just kind of ascending into a new level. And I think he's also finding comfort in chaos, right? I think he's finding the balance of staying true to himself while also appealing to the masses, right? I did like the new album. To be honest, I think it could have like flowed maybe a little bit better. It did feel a little bit all over the place in my opinion, but it's his first album. An artist that does albums really well is Gorgon City, I will say. Like Gorgon City albums always are just perfection. And this was his first album, so I wasn't expecting too much, but yeah, I did feel like it was kind of all over the place. I don't think John Summit's falling off. I think we're just seeing him rise to a new level of things, and that's going to come with like some variability, right? And some changes and like, now we're going to hear like, I miss the old John Summit, stuff like that. But I don't think he's falling off. I think, we're seeing him just rise to new heights that we haven't really seen a house DJ kind of rise to in that sense, right? Like, I feel like we haven't really seen like Calvin Harris, yes, but John Summit's a little bit different because he's also appealing to like a different demographic, like appealing to more of like the Gen Z crowd and more of like that kind of crowd. And he's so open and transparent and he's hanging out with like Alex Earl and her sister and like Jake Shane. It's different compared to some other house artists that we've seen where they just kind of like rise and they have the Vegas residencies or the top tier headline spots, but we don't know too much about their life, right? Like John Summit's just pretty open. So I feel like we're also just seeing this a lot more, if that makes sense. I don't know if that answered the question. Okay, it's time. There's like EDM Influencergate going on. So this question is, what do you think about the state of EDM content creators and influencers right now? I don't know who like pioneered this conversation, but it is definitely something that I've been feeling for a very long time. Whenever someone comes to me and they tell me, I want to do what you do, I want to be an EDM content creator, an EDM influencer, and I always preface, if you want to do it for the money, the brand deals, festival tickets, great. Just know it is very hard to make that your only income stream. In the EDM and festival space, we are not at the same tier level like a fitness influencer or a lifestyle influencer or a makeup influencer, because festivals and festival brands don't put a lot of budget towards influencers and content creators. They don't value them to that level, even though like so many people have learned about Electric Forest because of me. So many people have learned about EDC Las Vegas or Seismic Dance Event or whatever because of me, which I have my partnerships with certain festivals and, we're good there. But it's very hard to make additional money outside of, free stuff, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be a content creator or someone that is willing to do it for free. So I do think it's great that we're having this conversation, because I think we're starting to recognize we need to value ourselves a lot more and ask. You never know until you ask, right? And you might notice, like, I don't have an Insomniac ticket link, and that's just like my personal preference. I don't like promoting links. I don't really see the benefit or the payoff of it, right? Compared to someone using a code, which, like, for Seismic Dance Event, I have a code for that, which is great. And they have like certain tiered, rewards and things like that, which is nice. And, I have my own partnership really with them. And then, some of the other brands that I work with because I feel like they do really value creators, like Lunchbox Hydration Pack, like Lunautics. My earplugs brand is Zound Earplugs. They've been my go-to brand since 2018. And I kind of stick with those ones. And then, of course, I do understand the side of like a small business, right? Like a small business like Rave With Me Gente, who I've worked with for a very long time. I'm not going to charge them, like what I would charge for an Instagram reel or like whatever. But I do have a code with them where I get commission, right? So I think it's important to choose the brands you want to work with. You guys can probably tell I don't work with some of the brands that a lot of people work with. And that's because I'm very particular about the brands I choose. Because I know at the end of the day, some of these brands don't really value creators and they're just using them. And all they expect is, here's this free outfit and now you post about us, right? There's a certain brand I'm not going to say because I don't know if their stuff has changed. But there's a brand that I was like partnering with back during the pandemic. And I get that was tough times. But they would send an outfit and they expected like 6 TikToks or 8 TikToks with that one outfit. And I'm like, that's a lot. Like the content you're requesting, that's a lot. And so I ended up like dissolving that agreement because I was just like, this is just too much, like just for a free outfit, like especially making TikToks and like video content, like that stuff takes time. It really does take time. So I do think that there's a shift coming and I'm excited to see what comes of it. But if you are new to this space, maybe you'll be able to create different streams of income. And, that's why I have different streams as well. Like I have my coaching business and then I have, affiliate payments and stuff through the certain brands where I have a code. I have my Amazon storefront, which can give me a little bit. And then, it's been a while since I've done brand deals, but I'm not really going out and looking for them, but that would be another stream. And then I'm sort of working on like smaller little digital products for me. But at the end of the day, for me, like that's why I got a 9-to-5 because I just wanted some safety and security. And that way I can just create from a place of creation and, have a love for this community to share the brands that I work with you guys and create content that feels really good and aligned and not worry so much of like, okay, but how can I be making money with this? So that's kind of like where I'm really at. But regardless, if you are within this space, like just diversify your income streams and you can really make it work. But it is a little bit more of a challenge compared to being an influencer in the fitness space, the lifestyle space, makeup space, some of those other really big niches. The festival industry and the electronic music industry just isn't quite there yet. And I think that's okay. But yeah, I'd be curious to see what comes of it. And I think too, like this just brings up, as the consumer for you guys, think about the content creators that you're supporting and the brands that you're supporting, right? Whether it's small businesses or some of the bigger businesses. Same thing with the festivals. I feel like I've seen a lot of people be like, throwing hate towards Electric Zoo, but then they're going to Brooklyn Mirage, who owns Electric Zoo, So just be mindful about what festivals you're supporting, what brands you're supporting, and all of that. I think this also just brings up a conversation of like integrity when it comes to who you're supporting as a consumer, and really thinking through those things as well. Oh boy, that was my big TED talk about that. The next question is, do you know what happened to Shop Be Glitz? Love their stuff, but now seems like they disappeared. I would love to know this too. Like I used to know Brandon who owned Be Glitz and he was lovely. To be honest, as I like saw, I don't know when this happened, but I saw him get a house. I saw him like, have his relationship with his partner. Could have just grown up and just wanted to like kind of step away from the business. I know owning a business can just be very hard. in this space, and so it could have just been one of those things where he just wanted to maybe step away from the business and the brand. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure. And that kind of leads into the last question of this section, which is, do you have any friends who are small business owners in the rave world? I want to start a business, but have no clue where to start. Yes, I have a small business. I have so many friends who have started small businesses, whether it's like, I have coaching services, and I know other people who are coaches in the space. I know other people who have like, rave fashion brands and stuff. If you're looking to start a business, I think the best place is to identify, what do you want to create? What type of business do you want to create? Do you want to be of service to people? Do you want to have a product to sell? Like, what is that thing that you can really provide for this community that you really want to do? Or, well, yeah, you asked the rave world. So yeah, I'm just going to assume you want to do something for the rave community. I think if you just start opening yourself up to the possibility of like what I would do it from a place, not from a place of how can I be making the most money? Because usually that's not the most sustainable, right? Like if we all just did it by like, okay, how can I make the most money? You might not be as happy and it won't be as sustainable. So really thinking, what do I feel excited to create? What do I feel excited to put out in this world? What could the rave community really use right now? And then maybe develop a service or a product around that. That's kind of how my coaching business came to be, because I honestly wanted to get out of my 9-to-5, but I just felt like I have such a mission. Like I feel like there's something more for me to tap into. And I didn't want to do social media coaching. That just didn't feel right to me. I have tons of marketing experience, social media experience. I have had some clients where I do coach them on social media and stuff like that, but I do it from a place of like authenticity and like, starting your brand and like stuff like that. I love coaching beginners. But I just found that wasn't going to be fulfilling to me. What really was exciting to me was helping ravers and festival goers create lives that feel just like a festival, and really simplifying some of the things that feel hard to deal with in life. Like if you are struggling with a negative mindset, how can you really work with your mindset and start believing in yourself and having a more positive and supportive mindset? Habits and routines might feel super tricky as you enter the adult world. So I have ways to simplify that and make it easy for you. And also how you can like really identify the vision you have for yourself and start taking action on it. And that's what really came to me, is like, how could I just help my community grow in ways that I've been able to grow and kind of bring them along this journey with me. And that's what really excited me. And, I'm still so grateful. And that's what helped me branch out into hosting festival workshops. And like, I have really exciting things in the works that I think are going to really help the community. So I hope that was helpful. But I think if you just start researching different types of niches or industries or businesses and maybe see where you would want to place yourself into, and how do you want to be of service, and like tap into like what's going on in the heart here and see kind of like what's coming up that you could lead from that place to create something amazing for the rave community, whether it's clothing or whether it's a product or whether it's a service. So I like that question. I hope that was helpful. Okay, now we're moving into like wellness kind of area, I would say. The first question is, as my body ages, I feel the difference when attending festivals. How has your self-care routine pre and post festivals changed over the years? It has gotten more dialed into taking care of myself. It's so funny. After my last festival that I went to, I did my 4 festivals, right? Project Glow, Seismic Dance Event, Lightning in a Bottle, Regenerate. I had such a post-festival routine of, I went to the chiropractor, I got Reiki done, I went back to my health routines, I'm back to working with a trainer and working out consistently, eating healthy, getting my steps in, drinking my water. I feel like I've just done more of that. I also got a massage, I think, after that all the festivals, and I got a facial. We did a lot to support our body after that final festival, which I think is just super crucial and helpful. And, I don't go out and drink, right? So I save money that way and I put it towards taking care of myself. So I feel like it's changed a lot because I invest so much in health and wellness products or health and wellness services, getting a massage, getting a facial, getting Reiki done, which is energy work and stuff like that, or going to therapy. I have a hypnotherapist. I have a physical trainer, we got a lot going on here. And even preparing for festivals. So I feel like I also am just really like leading up to it. I'm very regimented in terms of, you know, staying healthy, doing like vitamins, immunity, like really focusing on stuff like that. Hydrating, nutrition, getting enough sleep is super crucial leading up to a festival and after a festival. I also plan better work-wise. Now that I'm back at a 9 to 5, I like try to get all the big things out of the way before I'm out of office. So that way future aide doesn't have to worry about it. We try to make future aide's life a lot easier over here. So I think about things like that. And then, I just try to do all of that stuff leading up to it. And then also thinking about PTO, I'm so grateful in my new 9 to 5 that I have unlimited PTO. So I'm also trying to plan for, you know, how many days I might need to recover. That way it just gives me more time to rest. But yeah, we've definitely gotten way more in depth. I'm thinking about doing a video like pre-prep. Maybe I'll do a prep for ARC video and a post recovery after ARC. I did not get sick after my 4-festival bender, which was really nice. And I think that was because of how I've been able to take care of myself. So that was really great. During my last EDC, I was not fully sober, but did take it easier than other years. However, it made me more aware of the rampant substance abuse around me, and many people really start looking scary during creature hours. It started to make me feel anxious and concerned for them. My question is, now that you've gone to festivals and EDM events sober, how do you manage to mind your business and have a good time? I think it's all about perspective. I think maybe there could have been something going on subconsciously because you had taken less maybe in years prior that you were aware of that, and then it started to make you aware of other people as well. So I think there could have been a little bit of like a mindset perspective thing that it's kind of like when this is just a random example, but I've been getting a lot of signs seeing weenie dogs, and it's kind of one of those things. Once I started noticing the weenie dogs, it's like I see them everywhere. I think it could have been similar to your effect of like, because you're not on as much, you're noticing how much people are on other things. But when it comes to other people, when I'm sober, I don't really pay too much attention to them unless they're impacting my experience, because I've had that before where, you know, people are, I like to call them roly-polies. If roly-polies are having a good time and they're bumping into me, like I totally get that. And then I kind of recognize like, you know what, they're having their experience, they're having their good time, I'm just gonna like move, which is kind of annoying that if I have to be the one to move, but like I'm in control of my experience, so I just take control in that way. Like this happened at Concourse the past weekend where there was a group of like under 21-year-olds, you know, they had the X's on the hands and they were all definitely little roly-polies. And I honestly was kind of like, love that for them. I hope they're staying safe, drinking water, whatever. Like you kind of just have to trust that people are going to be in control of their experience and do what they need to do to take care of themselves. And you just need to focus on yourself and call that energy and focus back to yourself. If there's like a really distracting situation, then, you know, like I said, it sucks to be the one to move, but at the end of the day, you're in control of your experience and you don't want to let that take away from your experience. And to be honest, like I don't really notice people. I kind of just am in the music, in my vibe. I'm with my people. I kind of just bring it back to that and stay present in that. It is good to be aware though, because of certain situations, right? Like in the case of someone needs medic or whatever, like I think it is nice to have those sober people in the crowd because they're able to be helpful, you know, and not that it should like rely solely on the sober people, but it is helpful to have someone with their head on their shoulders, not, you know, on anything, to be able to kind of be aware and get that person that needs help. So, and that's honestly probably not going to happen. Like I said, I had my like profound experience at Electric Forest. That was my first time ever witnessing a medical emergency to that effect. You know, I've seen other people like where, you know, flag down medics and stuff like that, but I wasn't like directly involved in the situation, right? Where, you know, we were right by this group as that happened. And some friend of the group literally went to Emma and asked her to go get medics, you know? So, and that was one of those things where like Emma and I were like, wow, we're so grateful that we were in that position because we knew exactly what to do and how to show up for those people and get them the help they need. And it wasn't like an annoying thing at all. It was like, no, we need to get these people help. So, I think it's just best to find ways to still be in control of your experience and just trust and hope that people are taking care of themselves. And then if you do need to step in, like, then you step in, right? I hope I answered that to the best of my abilities. I do the best I can. Next question is, I know you quit drinking, but do you partake in anything else, especially during raves and shows? I am alcohol sober curious, but I'm also 420 friendly. Interested to hear how you handle raves without alcohol. So just a point of clarity, I have invited alcohol back, but it's just a little dabble here and there. But even, this past weekend at Concourse, I didn't drink. I know it's like an Ask Aid Anything episode, but just for like the sake of corporate professionalism, I won't ever really talk about other substances or anything like that. Whether I do it, don't do it, I'm just not going to talk about it. It's just kind of like a personal boundary of mine. But I will say I really am sober off everything most of the time. I was at Concourse the past weekend, not on anything, not drinking, not anything, just on vibes. And that's usually what you will find with me. The next question is, how do you deal with people that assume you only go to festivals to do substances? I've done a lot of healing around caring about what other people think about me. And I feel like I've healed a lot in that, and recognizing that if people think I just go to festivals to do substances, that is just such a narrow-minded view of that. And I get it. Trust me, I get it. When I'm out in Austin and I talk about what I do, they're like, oh, like, so you do a bunch of Molly? And it's my time to kind of be like, no, I actually don't. I am sober and I actually have a lot of fun sober. And it kind of reflects back to them, their assumption, right? And their judgment, and kind of checks them. So I don't really take it personally. I try not to take anything personally. And, I've talked about this principle that like we're all mirrors reflecting back to one another. And so like if someone's just assuming that about me, it kind of reflects back to them something that they maybe need to think through themselves. And that's what I really do whenever I get that kind of comment or question. And, even in my 9 to 5, they do know about my pages. And so like people who don't get that kind of stuff, I feel like I've proven a point that like I have my shit together in my life and my 9 to 5, and I go to these events and I come back and I get my shit done at work, which I don't think any of them have ever thought that, but I like prove myself through my actions that like, yeah, I can go party, have a good time, come back, get my stuff done. And I've also feel like I've really been changing the narrative that like festivals and raving can be really transformative experiences. And so I think it's important, if you ever do get that, oh, you just go to take a bunch of Molly or whatever, you can say, no, I actually really enjoy the music, and I find the dance floors to be super healing, and I have a great time. And again, it will just cause them to think and be like, like if anything, you can be the catalyst to cause a mindset shift for them, or breaking down that stigma or stereotype, and say it confidently and proudly, and don't care what their response or reaction is. Like if you kind of check them a little bit, then again, it gives them food for thought. So I think it's kind of up to us to continue to break that stigma. And I feel like that's what I'm really trying to do with my content these days, is really show, hey, these spaces can be so powerful and transformative if you're using them in the right way. And there's actually a lot of us that are using these spaces in very powerful ways. And I feel like it's on us to kind of shift that narrative. But I think it's important to just not take things personally ever, and just know that trying to control the perception of everyone around you is just exhausting. And at the end of the day, people are going to have their beliefs, they're going to have their stories, but you don't have to identify with it. And you can also shift it yourself by, kind of bringing up these little things of like, no, I actually enjoy the music and I have a great time. And I actually go to heal. I'm actually sober, whatever. Like share your story and your thoughts on it, and don't just accept what that person has to say. Yeah, someone also asked, I don't think I copied it over, but someone asked like a microdosing question, since I was like sober from alcohol, if I like dabbled in that, but did not. I kind of dabble with the like functional mushrooms, like the cordyceps or whatever, like the stuff that you can put in like your coffee to like give you like little thinking stuff. I used to work with Four Sigmatic. They used to send me stuff. So I used to dabble with like little things like that, more of like the functional legal mushies, but never did like microdosing or anything. This is probably the juiciest section that maybe some of you have been waiting for if you submitted questions to hear my answers to these. This is all about love life, healing, all the things. So let's get into it. The first question is, why did your ex not want you to go to festivals? So I talked about this in a couple of the earlier podcast episodes from this week. And yeah, I think as I've been healing and processing, I'm fine with being a little bit more transparent into my previous relationship. But at first, my ex was open to festivals. You know, we started dating during the pandemic. We were a little pandemic quarantine relationship, whatever. He went to a lot of the festivals with me in 2021. We actually went to quite a couple. Like, I kind of threw him into the deep end. He had been to a couple before, but we went to Ubbi Dubbi, Arc Music Festival, EDC, and then 2 Seismics, actually. So we went to 5, I believe. And it was kind of after that that there was a little bit of a shift. He had great times at those festivals, but I honestly think getting older, he just started having these beliefs that we needed to get more serious. We needed to like focus on our careers, and like we can't be going to all these festivals. And like that really caused like an identity crisis in me, because I had been working on this brand for so long before him, like 3 years. And like I said, getting to the pandemic, I was kind of getting at my peak and like getting really amazing opportunities and brand deals. And like, it kind of caused me to just feel a little like, what am I supposed to do, you know? And I think he was a little bit controlling, and I allowed him to kind of be like that. But I mean, he's changed a lot since then. And I think he recognized like he really was asking me to not be me. And we've, you know, worked through that and talked through that. And like when we got back together, like we went to 3 Points together. He came to Groove Cruise with me. Even though we were broken up, he still came to Groove Cruise with me. I don't know if I've shared that. Because I still kind of needed someone to help me with my workshops and stuff. And like, yeah, he broke up with me right before Groove Cruise. And I was like, well, like you're already signed on to this trip. Like, let's just go. And so we did go. And I think that was honestly a great way to end our relationship, because it was happy memories that we were cultivating together. And, you know, he still got to support me with my workshops and all of that. And so, yeah, I think it was like his own beliefs about growing up and his own conditioning that caused him to not want to go to festivals, and then impacted me. And of course, I'm so loyal and was willing to compromise. But it's just funny because now he's like kind of swung the other way. Like he went to Miami Music Week. He's going to ARC. He'll probably go to Miami Music Week again. Like, and there's no hate, no beef or anything. I think we were young, you know, that was like earlier in our relationship, 2022, when this all kind of, so 2 years ago. And that's still kind of like our mid 20s when we're kind of figuring life out and all of that. So I don't hold any like resentment or hate about that. But yeah, it was a very tough thing. And it kind of leads into the next question of, how do you handle wanting to go to more events and shows and festivals than your partner does? Sometimes it feels like I'm forcing him to do things, which he is always happy after, but it makes me feel so controlling while planning things. I think communication is just the biggest thing there that you can do. And, you know, we tried to compromise and find a balance, but it was very hard. And it's also like we were not doing other things to kind of like offset not going to festivals. Like we were just kind of working and grinding and not really like getting out in Austin or like doing other fun things or whatever. Like it was just that was a very tough year for us. And, you know, it did come with a lot of compromise, but it was like I was more so compromising for him, you know. But if I got invited to a festival, then that's kind of like, okay, then that would be like our festival, right? Like when I got invited to EDC and Electric Forest in 2022, he was like, okay, these are like our 2 festivals. And then I don't know what else we went to that year. Like 2022 is kind of a blur. So yeah, I think it really does come down to communication and compromise. And I do think like there's a healthy amount, right? Because if your partner has goals and stuff that they want to do, like there has to be a balance of like, you can't just go to something every single weekend. You know what I mean? So I think it really is just about kind of communicating that and coming to an agreement. I think for me, it was just such a quick like switch up and kind of like a Uno reverse card that I was like really struggling with that because again, I have a whole brand that I built. So I think if you've been around, you probably could see when I was really struggling finding my like identity and like what content am I creating and like all of that. When I was dealing through all of that for sure. I think that about sums it up. Like I said, I don't have any hate or resentment to my ex in that time period. I think he was just really struggling within himself, and that then impacted our relationship. And we were just trying to find a good balance, and we weren't perfect at it. And again, he's now going to stuff. I'm back to going to stuff. And I think it was just one of those things where we learned a lot from the relationship, but at the end of the day, we weren't the most aligned partners to be together and to grow together at that point. Next question. What tips do you have for healing from heartbreak? Love your content and thank you for inspiring me daily. I love you guys. Okay, I have 2 episodes from last year to help you with heartbreak. One was on my like coaching podcast that I've now paused and stopped. But that one's helpful. And then I also did a navigating heartbreak in the rave scene. I feel like I've learned a lot even more since then, but my number one, no matter what, tip is no contact unless you share a child or you still live together. In that event, it's very hard to not be no contact, but it's definitely important to go no contact or at least set some boundaries with your ex just to give enough time and space. So that's always my first tip. Then the second tip is I want you to work on getting yourself to an emotionally stable place because that's probably the toughest thing. Every morning you're probably waking up in fight or flight, you're waking up emotional. So like the next step is really just taking care of yourself and your emotional state, because other than that, it's hard for you to do anything else. With that comes, feeling your feelings, going to therapy, talking with friends, doing things that feel really good, taking care of your body. I know for me, like I always talk about this and I get emotional. It was really hard for me to eat. And I didn't really have an appetite. So I ate like smaller meals. I drank smoothies, things like that just to get by, because your body just wakes up like you're literally withdrawing from a person, So give yourself some time and compassion and all of that. Third tip, time does heal. Over time, you will get better. However, healing comes from taking action and intention. And one of the breakup coaches I follow, she's called Breakup Coach Dorothy. I highly recommend her. Her podcast, How to Get Over Your Ex, is the best. She always talks about in order to get over your ex, you need to reduce the desire and reduce the attachment. Reducing the desire really means like really recognizing all the flaws in your ex and like taking them off the pedestal and recognizing that you deserve so much more. And what would that partner look like if you were to call in that desired partner that isn't your ex, that's more aligned for you and is going to support you and be for you, right? And then reducing the attachment, meaning going no contact and pouring back into yourself and creating a life that is even better than you imagined with your ex, essentially. So I would say that's the biggest, like kind of third tip there, is to really create a life that you're so obsessed with and become that person that you want to become, which is really just stepping into that version of you that's always been right here and becoming who you are and standing in that power, I feel like that's what I've really been doing, and you guys have been seeing. We've been glowing up. We've been having a great time. It's been a hot 8 summer. And I think it's all about, giving yourself the power to grow and heal and giving yourself that spaciousness, knowing that like you're going to keep having little things to kind of like move you along, when your ex gets into a new relationship and like all that kind of stuff. When you see your ex for the first time after the breakup, like there's going to be those little things to continuously kind of check in and heal from. But as long as you keep taking care of yourself in your emotional state and then making plans for your future, getting excited about your future, and then owning who you are and stepping into that is going to be really great, because then it really allows you to attract your ideal partner or attract those opportunities, people, experiences into your life, essentially. Okay, we switched cameras. I hope that was helpful. I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties with that last answer, but I am thinking about doing a second heartbreak episode, healing from heartbreak episode, but I don't know if I'm like beating this into the ground, right? Beating the dead horse that I've gone through breakup and all of that. But I'm giving myself grace and compassion because I was with someone for basically 4 years, and that's going to take some time from healing. And I feel like I've learned a lot more now, and I'm in such a better place and more at peace with things now after everything I've gone through. If we want another heartbreak episode for me to go more in depth, I'm going to have to listen back to those 2 podcast episodes I've done just to make sure I'm not repeating the same info. I basically gave you the Spark Notes version with that answer. But next question is, would you date someone who is not into EDM, or would that be a deal breaker? Never say never, because I've seen it work well with my friend Emma Capotis and her husband. But I don't know. Personally, for me, like, it just is really nice to have a partner who is into the same music and festivals as you. You know, I don't want to be so passionate about something and then look at that person and he's just like, what are you talking about? Like, I've experienced that talking to guys just out and about in Austin when I tell them what I do and they see my Instagram, they're like, Raven Festival content creator, like, what is that? Like, you kind of get the same thing of like, oh, you just do a bunch of Molly. Like, I have gotten that, but I feel like, yeah, I really do love this music and this scene so much that it is really nice to share that with someone. So it's not that it's not a deal breaker, but like, it would have to work in the sense that like I could yap about my like little festivals and music and all of that, and they like want to hear more about it. They're like, oh my God, like, I love that you're so passionate and so excited about that. Like, tell me more. Like, would that happen? Likeliness is no. But again, never say never. But again, yeah, it's not that it's not a deal breaker, but it is helpful. And it would be nice to have someone that I can share this life with, essentially, like the music and the traveling and the festivals. Like, I've had both of my past relationships where they've gone to these festivals and experiences with me, and it's really nice to have those, and I'll always be grateful for that, you know? Oh boy, this question. Do you feel like you're in a place to talk to someone new in a romantic fashion, asking for no particular reason? Well, I feel like you are asking for a particular reason, and I feel like I'm gonna break a lot of people's hearts right now. I feel like I'm going to talk like I'm in Love Island. Like, it's not that I'm like closed off to it, but also, yeah, like, I mean, I just got out of a serious long-term relationship. Like, I'm kind of just like going with the flow, going with the vibes. I don't have a clear answer, but like, I'm not on dating apps. Like, I just believe I'm going to be out and about and meet my person organically. And I think that's just kind of what I've been leaning into and kind of trusting. But yeah, I don't really know if I'm like for sure in a place for anything serious right now. And so if you're wanting something romantic and serious, I'm probably not your girl right now. Like, guys, I literally just got out of something. Like, give a girl some space and room to breathe a little bit. Come on. Next question is, what are the green flags you are looking for in your next partner? I mean, I'm not going to give away like the handbook here, everyone, of like what I'm really looking for. I don't know. I feel like there's a couple of things that I like look for right now. And I feel like it's based off of like my past relationships and all of that. Now that I've been in 3 long-term relationships, I feel like I've learned a lot. And just as I'm like getting older and growing up and stuff, I mean, obviously like the interest is really nice that we have things in common to kind of like talk about, whether it's music or personal development. I mean, a big thing for me is that they are working on themselves in some capacity, whether it's like they're taking care of themselves, like in the gym, or, you know, they journal or meditate, like, and, you know, someone doesn't have to do all of these things, right? But just have like an awareness of those things. I think a really big thing for me is like emotional intelligence and, you know, being aware of those things. And like, I'm not saying that, you know, the person has to go to therapy or whatever, but is at least aware of like maybe the things that they're triggered by or how things in their past impact them now. Just because those are things that I really healed to work on myself. And like, I'm not here to baby anyone. I'm not here to be your coach. that sometimes can happen, because I am so kind and caring and very loyal to the people I date, that can get taken kind of advantage of, right? And so I also would like to see just someone who is a leader in their own life, and then could also be a provider and take care of, me and lead me. And we have similar interests, very much open-mindedness, likes to travel, great at communicating. Something else that I've been really interested in is I can be very much homebody to myself, a little more reserved. I know that can be surprising to you guys, but online persona can be a little bit different to me at home, So I've also been it would be kind of fun to be with someone who does bring me out of my shell a little bit more, because I have been with more guys like me who are more reserved, So that's been kind of something I've been looking for, just to kind of see how that feels. That's the whole thing with dating, is that you get to meet and talk to different people and whatever, and see how this feels to be with someone like this, or see how this feels to be with someone like that, And I feel I'm not actively dating, right? But I feel I've been meeting guys and kind of getting curious about that and stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still kind of I'm still just enjoying singlehood, and just being single. If I meet the one, and it's going to be very quick when I get settled down and get serious and all of that. So I'm just enjoying this time. And, if I meet someone, I meet someone. And we're just seeing where the vibes go. So that is all about my love life. Oh boy, you guys are funny with these questions. The final question is about how to make good and genuine friends. As I get older, in parentheses, close to being 30, I find it so hard to make new friends. I wish I had more girlfriends to hang out with and do things with. Sister, I see you on this. I was having such a pity party about this topic, literally 2 or 3 weeks ago. And my best answer for you is to put yourself out there, get uncomfortable, and do new things, and just see where it takes you. Because I went to a breathwork event back in April. And how you find out about these events, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you're going to have to put in some work to find these people, right? And I feel I've gone through so many iterations of friend groups and stuff like that, just from mutual friends and being in the scene and whatever. But you do have to put yourself out there and get a little uncomfortable to kind of find your people. So yeah, I went to a breathwork event back in April, which was kind of a new thing for me. And I connected with someone. His name's Mitchell. He's awesome. He's dope. He's kind of one of those people that he just knows a lot of people. He's kind of a connector type person. And he hit me up to go to a pool party that he was having. This was back I think before 4th of July weekend. It was end of June. He invited me to this pool party. I didn't know anyone else going besides him. And so I went to that, and I ended up meeting this really dope friend group and that has kind of integrated me into their things. And it's been really nice because it's a good balance of girls and guys, and some of them are into electronic music, and then all of them are into health and wellness, which is just so cool. They have a little run club that I have yet to go to, but I might get into it. We went to yoga all together, and yeah, it's just really cool to be surrounded by people like that. I went to Dylan Francis back-to-back Good Times Ahead with this group. So we even went and raved a little bit. So it was kind of crazy because it was something that I had been praying for so long. I'm going to be honest, I missed having male friends, platonic male friends. I have missed so much. I have my gays, right? I have my good old gay guy friends that I love so much, but I kind of missed having platonic straight guy friends. I had a lot of that in college when I was hanging out with, the fraternities, because I was in Greek life and stuff. And then when I moved to Austin, I got into a relationship with someone. So then obviously it was kind of weird, right? And also when you're kind of in the young adult era in your 20s, it's kind of hard to make guy friends because it's does this guy want to date me, sleep with me, whatever, right? Or does he just want to be friends? And most of the guys are just looking for that, right? Rather than being friends. But I met this group and they're all super nice and they've just been inviting me to things. And it's like, wow, I feel like this is what I've been praying for and kind of manifesting, to have a group like this that just is down to do stuff around Austin. So needless to say, I share all of that because I'm so glad I went to that pool party that day, because had I not, that wouldn't have happened. And had I not gone to the breathwork event either, that it's like a whole butterfly effect, right? Because I went to that breathwork event and put myself out there, which was really scary because I didn't know anyone, that sparked, this connection, which then led to like this bigger connection and stuff like that. So I think you really just have to be intentional. And, I was talking to my really good friend, Alex, about this. She lives in Houston and she's been there for about a year and she's wanting to get more involved into Houston. And so, we were just talking. I was like, what if you just made it a goal to go to like one event per week, whether it's like a workout class or you go to like, there's like hot girl walk groups, or you go to like a full moon circle or you go to a show, I always make it a goal with anything I go to, whether it's a show or yoga class or whatever, to walk away with like one new connection, even if I don't get their info. Like at least I interacted with someone. And it can be really scary, especially if you deal with social anxiety, but the more you do it, the more you get comfortable with it. And, that little voice is going to be like, nope, we should stay home. Nope, we shouldn't go. Turn around. Nope, 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 nope. And it's a matter of you just like being like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. I almost didn't go to that pool party. I was like this close to not going. And then I ended up going and had a great time. And like, even going to Dylan Francis back-to-back good times ahead, like I connected with more people there, So you really just have to get into your yes era and put yourself out there and get uncomfortable. And you never know, because you might meet someone, and even if that person, you two don't vibe as friends, you might meet someone else through them that you'll vibe, right? And I'm not saying that about Mitchell. Mitchell and I are definitely still friends. He's great. So yeah, I honestly, like, this is one of the things where I'm so grateful that the breakup happened earlier this year, because it's like, whoa, like I have just met so many people since then. And I've had all of these incredible experiences that might not have happened if I was still in that relationship, So that is worth everything to me. Like I would go through that heartbreak again and again if it meant that I got to experience what I've experienced in these past 7 months and met these people. Like I have absolutely no regrets, and I'm just feeling super grateful for where I'm at in life. And yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. And that was the final question. So I really appreciate you guys being here and listening through. We went in on all the different topics about me and my life, and it's really cool that you guys asked some of the questions that you guys did, and allowing me to be seen and to share more things. And we definitely have some exciting things to come. If you have any topic requests, topic ideas, things you would like to see on this podcast, I'm going to leave a form in the show notes and in the YouTube description box. So definitely submit them, because now that I've like recapped everything going on in my life, I'm like, okay, where do we go from here? Like I have some ideas, but I'd love to hear from you and see what you guys want to see. So if you guys did enjoy today's episode, definitely let me know. Leave me a comment, leave me a rating, review, all the wonderful things. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Have a very vibey day. Thank you for vibing with me. Don't forget to stay vibey and all the things. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.